like, there's a lot of things that I want to catch you guys up on. I don't know what I'm going to read after the chocolate touch, so I might ask for some recommendations from y'all if you have any read aloud recommendations. Here's my reading lesson slides for today. Making it! It's going to be a long day. Good morning, everyone. My name is Katie and I'm a third grade teacher in the state of Florida, and you guys are here for a day in my teacher life. This is my first official vlog of the new school year. I decided to do a day in my life because I was like, I can do a day. Maybe next week I'll do a week in my life. Because as I'm sitting here thinking through this day in my life, I'm like, there's a lot of things that I want to catch you guys up on. And I don't want to talk your ear off and just sit here and talk forever and ever, because I want this to be like a vlog of my day. So just to give you a recap, this is the third week of school. It's currently a Thursday. We have open house tonight, so I'm wearing a pretty dress and a denim jacket, very teachery, you know. I went to get a Starbucks this morning because I'm going to be at the school for a long time today. So I was like, treat, because I have a gift card, one. Two, I'm almost out of cold brew. David's been helping me. We've been buying cold brew grounds from our local coffee shop, and then he's been soaking them and making cold brew concentrate, and I'm almost out, and I need the cold brew concentrate for tomorrow morning, because tomorrow morning I'm going to a 6 a.m. workout class at the gym, and so I won't have time to go get a coffee, so I'm gonna have to make my coffee at home, and I think I have just enough for one more day. So I was like, well, I'll go get this today, that way I make sure I have coffee for tomorrow. I just got an iced caramel macchiato. Last time I went, I got the caramel vanilla iced coffee, and unfortunately my app today said it was out of season, but it was way cheaper than getting a caramel macchiato or a cold brew or a latte or something. It was just iced coffee with caramel and vanilla, but it tasted almost the same. But it wasn't available today, which is a bummer, because it was $4.25 or something. So it ended up being $4.50 for that drink, whereas opposed to this one was $6.50. But I have a gift card, so it's okay. I don't go to Starbucks unless I have a gift card. And I prefer my local coffee shop these days. If you've been following me for a while, you know I went through a huge Dunkin' phase, but since they changed their rewards app, I really don't go that much anymore, because I'm the rewards just aren't as good. And so there's not as much of an incentive to go often. And they don't give you bonus points or buy a donut, get coffee. So I just really haven't been going that much at all to Dunkin' anymore. I've just been making my cold brew at home, or going to the local coffee shop, or occasionally hitting up Starbucks when I have a student gift card. So there's my coffee spiel for this morning. So far the school year has been off to a great start. We are still adjusting to this new life in third grade, being departmentalized and swapping with another classroom So it's definitely taking an adjustment, but positives so far. I really do like teaching my reading lesson twice because I feel like I know what I'm doing and I'm teaching it well. So when I'm preparing for it, I feel more willing to pour time into my preparations. First off, I made a lot of slides last year, so I have a lot of stuff already prepared from reading last year. So I'm just kind of taking that and I'm amping it up like to the next level and doing things that like last year I felt like I didn't have time to incorporate into my plans for lots of reasons. First off, because I was just making the slides, so every week I was making the slides fresh to teach the curriculum the way that I wanted it. We were also modifying assessments to be benchmark based and aligned, and so that was one reason I never felt like I got to add like the sparkle to my lesson. But also I was planning for math and science and social studies, so I really feel like this year I've been able to take it and I'm like putting things in there that I'm like, I didn't have time to think about this last year, but I do today, like little conversation segments and like the talking chips that I've talked about so many times if you've been watching my videos. I put in like movement responses that I'm like, I want to put that in a slide, have a little activity and a chance for them to like get up and down, but I just haven't had time to. So I really, really love that aspect of it. The switching classes is getting better. It's a challenge for sure because it's hard for the kids to, I feel like they have to code switch. If you are an ESOL major, ESOL certified, or took any ESOL classes, code switching is when you're like speaking in one language and then you can switch to the other. Like, so a bilingual Spanish speaker could speak in English and Spanish simultaneously in a conversation and they can code switch between the two. Fun fact, I was an ESOL major, or not major, my master's was in ESOL. So, and I did like a little bit of research on code switching in the classroom in math lessons. But anyways, I'm using that term because I feel like that's what the kids have to do when they go from one room to the other. Like a lot of our expectations are similar and the same, but we're also not the same person. So I think the kids are still learning how to code switch when we swap rooms and like learning, okay, I'm in Miss Allen's room now, and this is what we do here. I'm in math in my swap teacher's room, this is what we do here. And just the subjects are different. Math is different from reading. Science is different from social studies. So the things that we do and the way that we learn will be different. So I think the kids are still adjusting to that, and so am I. Another thing that's been crazy is we were supposed to do state testing this week, and the platform was not working on Tuesday because it's online, so they canceled it. So that made Tuesday a wacky schedule day where I had like no plans. So I was like doing some great improv teaching for social studies. It was fantastic. And then we were supposed to take the next test yesterday, but they just decided to push it all the way back to next week to give the district time to like work out all the kinks. And because middle schools were supposed to be testing yesterday, if you're in Florida, comment below. Have you done your FAST PM1? Because if you didn't know, Florida does the state test 3 times in the year, which this might be an unpopular opinion. I'm not a fan of state testing in general, but I actually do like this state test because I think it gives very valuable data. And I do not mind them taking it 3 times during the year, especially for 3rd graders, because the first 2 are like practice, like clicking the buttons, signing in. So by the time we get to May, they're really comfortable with the process, so it's not as stressful. I just don't like that we do a lot of other testing in addition to the FAST. Like we're still doing STAR, we're still doing curriculum ones that they're like do beginning, middle, and end, and that's not my favorite. I'm like, if we're doing something 3 times a year for the big thing, then maybe we should like scale back on what we do the rest of the year. That's my personal opinion, but it does give good data, and we give it in August, December, and then May. So now our first one has been pushed back, which means like this week was supposed to be a weird week, and so I treated it like a weird week at the beginning, and then it ended up being rescheduled, so next week's gonna be weird. It's also like we're going to have a 4-day week next week, and 2 of the days are testing. So it's been really hard to get running with the schedule and the swap schedule and feel like we're in a routine, and I can tell. So I guess that's like where we're at right now. I'm here really early today because I needed to get up to curl my hair for open house tonight, give it a fresh curl. I washed it last night. I knew I was getting coffee, and I knew I wanted to start vlogging, and that was going to take me some time because I haven't done it in a while. But let me take you over. Oh, that's so good. Let me take you over and like show you my schedule for the day, because that might give you a framework, because it's different. So if you've watched my vlogs for a while, this is not the same as how I used to do it. So here's my schedule cards up on the board. If you watched my classroom setup, you saw me put those in. We're gonna start with our morning routine. I always do that with my block 1. That's my homeroom class. Then we have block 1 on the schedule. Block 1, again, is my homeroom class, and I teach them reading in the morning. I'll show you what we're doing in a minute. Then they'll go to special area, which is music today. We have a new music teacher. Love her. She seems so great and the kids like it. So yay. Then when we come back, we have this thing called flex time. That's our intervention block. I like to call it flex time because I don't like to say intervention for the kids because I don't know that they know what that means. Also, I've been teaching them like it's a block of time that we use flexibly. I'm like, I'm going to pull people who need to learn things, who need to make up work, who need to take assessments. Like, I'm just going to use it flexibly, if that makes sense. I will start pulling more structured groups now that a lot of our baseline data is done. But for now, like, that's why I called it flex time for the kids. But today, since it's a Thursday, on Monday and Tuesday, I keep my block 1 for flex and social studies, and then we swap after recess and they go next door for math. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, we swap after specials, and so I have my block 2 for flex time and social studies, so they get social studies, and then I'll take them to lunch, and then they'll have reading after recess, and then we have snack and pack up at the end of the day. I finished reading the book Third Grade Angels. If you've been following me for the last 2 years, that's always my first read aloud for the school year because my teacher bestie down the hall showed it to me when I first started in 3rd grade, and I was like, love that. It's perfect. Totally on brand for 3rd grade, but also it's really a cute story, and the kids like make connections to it. Even yesterday, we finished the book a couple days ago, but even yesterday they were still like making connections during our reading lesson, which I love. And we're on to the chocolate touch, which I like a lot because later on, I want to say it's like in a couple weeks. So it's probably like 4 weeks from now. So quite a bit later on. So a while from now. But we hit a little mini unit about myths. And I always use some text to introduce the genre and introduce the skill to students. And so the text that I use to introduce myths is I use like a little video of King Midas and the Golden Touch. And it's so fun for them to make connections because they'll watch it for a little bit and then they'll realize it's just like the chocolate touch. And so I love that. For them, they're able to make connections, and then I can teach them how the chocolate touch was actually based on that myth and inspired by the myth, and even his last name, like Midas, John Midas. And they just think that's the coolest thing ever. And so that's why I'm reading the chocolate touch next. I don't know what I'm going to read after the chocolate touch. I usually read, what's it called? The BFG sometime in the fall, but that's a really long book, and I don't know if I'm ready to commit to something that's going to take quite that long. I don't know. So I might ask for some recommendations from y'all if you have any read aloud recommendations, and also from my coworkers, just to see, because I love the BFG, but it's a really long book, and I'm like, I just don't know if we have the long book stamina with this group right now. But the read aloud at the end of the day is like one of my favorite parts of the day because they're eating snack, I'm reading the book, it's magical, I'm acting it out, I'm doing the voices, I'm really trying to keep them captivated and seated and eating, because then we pack up and go home. So that's kind of what our day is gonna look like. I guess let me show you like my reading slides for today so you can see what the reading lesson is. For social studies, we're just learning, we have Studies Weekly, Florida Studies Weekly, which are little magazines, and we're just doing week 2, and we're finishing reading about primary and secondary sources, and that's like literally it for social studies because it's about 25 minutes, and we haven't jumped into our first unit yet, but once we do, I'll show that to you because we'll be starting government hopefully next week or the next. It's probably going to be the next because of testing. Maybe. I don't know though. All right, here's my reading lesson slides for today. All right, I'm gonna attempt it with this fabulous clicker, but I really don't like my board. I have a New Line smart board and I actually think they really suck. But that's just a side tangent. But there's only one USB plug on the front, and I use that one for my keyboard, and the rest of them are on the side, and the signal is just not very good, so we'll see if the clicker works. But here's like my agenda that the kids are gonna do. We're gonna go over grammar, simple sentences. We're gonna review vocabulary that we did yesterday. We're going to do a quick review of what folktales are, and then read our weekly story. So, see how this clicker's not even working. Oh, there we go, but it'll work when I'm not expecting it. Okay. So here's the first grammar slide. We talked about simple sentences yesterday, and so this is the Schoolhouse Rock Mr. Morton video, and I think it's hilarious for simple sentences. It talks about the subject and the predicate. My class ate it up last year. So we're gonna watch that to review simple sentences. Is a fun way to review. I don't know if it's about to play or not. Oh, see, it's like double clicking. There we go. Okay, then we're gonna practice. We're using Top Score Writing this year. This is a slide from Top Score Writing. So we're gonna just do the top 2 practice ones. So we'll identify whether the following sentences are simple sentences by circling yes or circling no. The first one says the kids played in the waves, yes or no. I thought that said Dan ran out of gas. Like I tried to make it a simple sentence and then just ran out of gas. We'll talk about if it's a simple sentence, yes. If not, we've been practicing correcting them to make them simple sentences. Then after grammar, we move on to our vocabulary for the week. These are our vocabulary words. One thing I've changed about vocabulary this year is I've started doing student-friendly definitions. I went to a New Worlds reading training this summer, and they talked about how like short definitions really aren't very helpful for students because it doesn't give them any perspective for how to use it. So the definitions are a little bit longer, but they're kid-friendly. I used a website. Maybe I'll try to find it and link it in the description to get like a kid-friendly one, but you're supposed to use like someone and something. So like magnificent. Ignore preparations because preparations was hard, but magnificent is if something is magnificent, it is wonderful or beautiful. So it uses the word in the definition because it's describing like how to use it. So if they're reading that, they can say, oh, I can describe something as magnificent if it's wonderful or beautiful, instead of just saying magnificent means wonderful or beautiful. And it's a little bit longer and a little bit harder to write, but I think they're more valuable definitions for their time. So like brooded, that's a hard word. And I put when someone broods, they worry or think about something a lot. So then they can think about how to use the word, and it kind of gives them a little bit more clue for the part of speech, which I like. So there's our vocabulary. We wrote it in our journals yesterday. Then we're going to review what folk tales are and what folk tales have. We talked about this yesterday, and I showed them some examples of folk tales in American culture, and they were all like, oh, I know these stories. I'm like, yes, you do. And then we're going to read our weekly text, which is Why the Sky is Far Away. We're going to listen to it on a recording on YouTube because they put like music and sound effects and all of that stuff with it. So it's pretty cool. And then at the end, they'll talk about the characters, the problem, and the solution, because tomorrow when we go back, we'll read the first half and we'll take notes on some of those things. And that's it. I don't have independent work stuff set up yet, but the slide is just still in there from last year. And that would take us to, oh boy, to day 3, which is going to be pretty short and sweet. So all right, I know I've been talking like a bunch and I apologize for that, but I just wanted to get you guys all caught up because it's been so long since I vlogged. Literally, it's been since the first day of school, and today's the 14th day of school, I think. So that's like 14 school days, so it's been like 2 or 3 weeks since I've vlogged anything. But I've been keeping my upload schedule going because I had a lot of classroom set up that I still needed to share. Oh, also I put my like story pictures up here. So there's our first week's story. Yesterday we read Tops and Bottoms to talk about theme. Oh my goodness. Do you guys want to know how I taught theme? Because I rocked it yesterday. Okay, I can tell you in like 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so we're doing theme this week. Today's just our weekly text, and anytime we read our weekly text, I tell the students we read it all the way from and they all say top, and then I get down low and they say bottom, and then I usually have them get up out of their seats and do that too, do top to bottom, so there's like a little bit of movement in there. But yesterday I used the introduction text, so it was the first day, which means we started the vocabulary and we introduced our skill with another text. So I read the story Tops and Bottoms, but then we talked about theme statements, and there was I don't know if your school uses Lexia, but if you do, I like the Lexia program. They have mini lessons in there, and last year I discovered the theme mini lesson, and I was like, I'm going to use this when I introduce theme next year because I thought it was so good for the ones who can't see the difference between the theme. Like last year I would have students who we would read Tops and Bottoms, and I'd ask them what the theme was, and they'd say the rabbit was planting all the crops and was tricking the bear. And that's not the theme, that's a sentence that tells me what the story was about. So yesterday we talked about the difference between a mostly about sentence, we use this hand motion because it's a book, shows what a story or a text is mostly about, and a thumbs up theme. So I put 2 sentences up on the board. This is from the Lexia lesson. The first one was, hard work pays off. The second sentence was, Tyrese worked as a lifeguard. You can tell I taught this lesson twice because I've read this sentence a bunch. Tyrese worked as a lifeguard over the summer to earn money to buy a bike. Okay, so I asked the students what they noticed about the sentences, what was the same and what was different, and their answers were so good. Some of them were like, okay, the second one has a character because it talks about Tyrese. The first one doesn't have a person. The second one talks about being a lifeguard and working as a lifeguard, and the first one also says work too, but it doesn't say what job. was like, oh my gosh, these are great connections. And they were like, the second one says summer, the first one doesn't tell us what season. Oh my gosh. And then they were like, the first one says pays, and the second one is talking about money because he's earning money to buy a bike. So they were making the connections themselves, which was like, I could hear angels singing in my classroom because they're built like, I don't know, they were just building their understanding of theme, and I loved that. And so then I was able to show them, I switched to the next slide. I was like, okay, the top sentence is a thumbs up theme. It's a lesson that anybody could learn from reading a story. The second one is a mostly about sentence. It shares what a story or a text was mostly about. I said a theme is going to be a lesson or something you can learn, or that a book or a story could teach you. I said if you read a book, you could learn that hard work pays off, because all of us have different times where we're going to work hard. So, but if you read a book about Tyrese, I'm not going to say, okay, class, we just read about Tyrese. So one day when you're Tyrese as a lifeguard, remember to work hard to earn your bike. They all looked at me like, what? It's like, see, that doesn't apply to you because you're not Tyrese and you're not a lifeguard and you're not working right now to pay off a bike. So that's not the lesson you can learn, but you could learn hard work pays off. And they were like, oh, it was so great. And then the next slides, I had examples of both sentences, and they had to show me with a hand sign. I would read the sentence and they had to hold their book if it was a mostly about sentence, or a thumbs up if it was a thumbs up theme. And I think showing them the difference between the two at the beginning was a game changer. Like, you can tell them the theme is the lesson, but some of them won't see the difference between, they're like, oh, I'm just writing another sentence about a story. No, you're writing like the lesson of the story, not what the story is about. And so for this weekly text, I'm excited because I think I did that 4 tops and bottoms then, okay? So then I connected it back to the story, and I said, there's 2 sentences from the story. Tell me which one's the thumbs up theme and which one is the mostly about. And the mostly about said, rabbit tricked bear into giving him half of his crops. And then the theme was, don't be lazy and work hard to earn things on your own. And they were able to identify which one was the theme and which one was the mostly about. So we're gonna do that again with our weekly text in a few days. But I just had to share that because, oh my gosh, it was such a teaching win. And I was like, I feel like I taught theme. I've only done it 1 day so far. We're 1 day into this little mini unit on theme. We'll teach it now and then come back to it again in the spring. But I already feel like I taught it like 1,000 times better than I did last year. So I was like, yes, teacher win. I'm really trying to apply things this year. That's the beauty of being departmentalized, is I'm applying things I learned at my PDs this summer about reading, and things like lessons, that little elements, that's one of those little elements that I'm like, I did that so much better because I had time to sit and think about it. And I love that. I love that. So I'm just, yeah, I'm thrilled. That's one of the positives. Well, now that I've talked your ear off, I think what I'm gonna do is I really wanna go, I need to go to the media center because I need to laminate something, but I don't want to turn the laminator on and like have to sit there and wait for it. So I might do that at the end of the day because usually the laminator's on, and after I do card duty, I'll just walk over. But I have these posters that have graphic organizers that I had printed on the poster printer because our tech guy's amazing and he'll print on the poster printer for you. They're basically like huge graphic organizers that I'm going to have. The students will have their own version and we'll fill in together during our social studies units. I'll show those to you in a future vlog, but I need to go laminate them and hang them in here. But I also have something else I want to send to the poster printer, so maybe I'll try to export those items and send them to our tech guy, and he could print those too, because if I could laminate all of them this afternoon, that would be ideal. So I think I'm gonna boot up my computer, check my email, check my lesson plans. I've got some money that I need to receipt that was turned in yesterday that I need to take up today to our bookkeeper, so I'm gonna work on that this morning to get that done. And I think that's it. I feel pretty ready for open house tonight. We've got our slides ready. We've got our little flip books ready, which is good because it's at like 5:30 and I think we get dinner at 4:30 from PTO. So I'm gonna quit rambling for you guys. Y'all, that was such a long stretch. So if you're still listening right now, kudos to you. We're about to hit the B-roll footage and your brain will get a brain break. But that's what happens when you do a day in my life vlog. First of all, your check-ins are usually longer. And second, when you haven't vlogged in 3 weeks and it's the beginning of the school year. So there's just so much to share. So yeah, okay, it's now 7:12. I feel like I've been talking to you guys for like half an hour now. No, I don't know. But I'm gonna let you go and I'm gonna start getting some managerial tasks done in my classroom. Making it. It's gonna be Oh, the paper one. Those things. All right, I'm home now. I did not check in school. Is this going to be, is this surprising? Like, no, because this is normal real life. But I did not check in at the end of the day at school as per usual. It's very hard to check in at the end of the day, especially when you're not the last one there, because I'm always chatting with coworkers and stuff. And so I never had a moment where I was like the only one there to like set up a camera and talk to you guys. But everything went great today. My lesson was fantastic that I showed you the slides for this morning. I really felt like I crushed it both times I taught it, which is always a good thing. And then open house was good. We had a pretty packed house today. And we went through the PowerPoint and it was great. And I'm yawning because I was literally at school, y'all, for just about 12 hours today because I never left. But PTO gave us Olive Garden for dinner, so that was delicious. And I just ate with a bunch of my teammates. And we laughed and we had a great time. And then we had parents come. We made a flip book to send home with like classroom information. And then we also gave them this form where they could like give us 3 things. I don't know, like 3 things they love about their kid, 2 words to describe them, and 1 thing they want them to get better at this year. Something like that. And so I can't wait to read through those, contact parents tomorrow who weren't able to make it tonight just to give that positive contact home. And yeah, I'm really tired. Really tired. This is why I decided to only vlog for a day this week because I knew I was going to be whooped. But it's almost Labor Day weekend, so that's really exciting. We get an extra day this weekend just to rest, and I know that I certainly need it for sure. So yeah, that's all I got. I don't even know how to close this vlog, except this is the end of my day. I'm gonna go get in the bath and soak in the tub and relax for a little bit. And then I'm gonna take off my makeup, spray some dry shampoo in my hair and go to bed because I'm going to a 6 a.m. workout class. So please give this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my channel. Hopefully I'll get back into the weekly vlogging soon. Starting on Labor Day week is always a good one because it's only 4 days, so it's not as intimidating. So I think I'll try to do a weekly vlog next week and maybe get back into the swing of it. I don't know though, I'm really exhausted. So to be determined. I'm not making any promises here. But thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.